The Colorado Buffaloes are kicking off the college football season in a couple of weeks, but there's 5 players who they need to stand out this year. They need to prove it. Who are they? Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Buffs, everybody. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. My name is Kevin Borba, host of the show, and I also cover all things college football, all things Colorado over at Athlon. So go check me out over there for written content as well. Let's talk about who has the most to prove. Right. I think there's a lot of people in college football with a chip on their shoulder this year. I think there's a lot of people, who really need to showcase something, right? Whether it's Arch Manning, is he worth the hype? Whether it's Carson Beck, can he replicate what he once was, or is he done now? Or is it a guy like, I don't know, throw out a name, right? TJ Parker, can he be a dominant defensive lineman or a dominant player for Clemson, right? So many questions around the country. But I think when it comes to Colorado, there's 5 players that stand out to me that have the biggest question marks, not because I don't think they could be good, but because we've seen glimpses, we've seen them be great or good, and now we need to know if they could do it again. So let's run through the list. Now, these guys, again, it's not me saying that they're not good or anything. It's just me saying I think that they have something to prove this year. Let's start with DJ McKinney. I think he is viewed by ESPN. Yes, so my notes here have him 3rd best corner in the country, right? We did our Locked On Top 100 College Football Players ranking as a company, as a network, and McKinney came in at 87, I believe, right? So I think there was like a general acknowledgement that like, hey, he's good, but clearly at 87, there's quite a few more players and corners ahead of him. There's that. So I think he's on the radar, right? People kind of view him as a potential first, probably 2nd or 3rd round pick heading into the season. Last year, he had a big year for the Buffs. And I think, if you played wide receiver or corner last year, you probably got overshadowed by Travis Hunter. If you or a loved one were overshadowed by Travis Hunter, you may be entitled to financial compensation because, Travis Hunter was a straight up dog, right? And it's generational. We may never see someone do it again, or if we do see someone do it again, we may never see someone do it what Travis did, playing both positions at that level. But DJ had, he had 43 total tackles, 8 pass deflections, and then he also led the team in interceptions quietly, right? Second on the team in interceptions behind Travis, quietly, 3 picks, right? So, and he had a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. He steps in now as the de facto top dog, right? He is the corner for Colorado. So why does DJ McKinney have so much to prove? Well, I think he has to show that he doesn't have to be Travis Hunter, but he has to show that he could step in and fill those shoes of being Colorado's lockdown corner, right? Can they trust him to be put on an island to lock down the opposing team's best receiver? Can he follow the opposing team's best receiver around the field? I think that's a lot of pressure on him, and I think he has it's a money-making year for DJ McKinney, right? DJ McKinney has a chance to boost his draft stock, and he has a really big chance to make himself a household name. So that's why he has a lot to prove in 2025. Moving on, let's go with, we'll go to the offensive side of the ball. I think we're going to go to the running back position right now because Dallan Hayden is a guy running back. He's a guy who I think was expected to be the lead back last year, right? Colorado was kind of hoping that their running back issues would be solved a year ago, right? They brought in Dallan Hayden, former blue chipper who went to Ohio State, was ranked as the number 19 running back in the country. He had Notre Dame, Illinois, Auburn, Arkansas. You name it, every program in the country wanted them to slice of Dallan Hayden because he gets to Boulder. And when he gets to Boulder, I think there's a combination of issues, right? For one, when Dallan Hayden did his most damage at Ohio State, it was obviously they're playing some not so great teams, right? So it wasn't always like he was going up against the Michigan defense and just rattling off like 30-yard runs all the time. But he had shown some flash, right? Like I'll go back to his Like against Purdue, I mean, they won 41-7. He had 11 carries for 76 yards and a tud. In 2022, that's when he really made an impact. 102 yards against Indiana, 146 yards the following week against Maryland, 108 yards against Toledo, and then even against Georgia, he had 9 carries for 43 yards, right? So he had some big moments. Michigan State, 70 yards, 5 yards per carry, 5 yards per pop. But I think where Dallan Hayden struggled in Boulder in his first year was the offensive line wasn't getting the same push, right? So these running backs for Colorado, they really had to be good at creating after contact in the backfield, right? I think Colorado, the average yards before contact last season was not great. And I think Dallan Hayden struggled with that. I don't think he was fighting through contact as well as he could have been. And this isn't me saying I know how to be a better running back than Dallan Hayden. This is sort of what was happening, right? The Colorado running backs were not able to fight through contact, and fighting through contact was sort of the MO for what they needed to do because the offense line was so bad, right? So Dallan Hayden comes in. Isaiah Augustus sort of took over as the main guy. And this is why I think Dallan Hayden has a lot to prove. Former blue chip recruit, comes from Ohio State with all the expectations in the world. I think a lot of people thought he would cement himself as one of the best running backs in the Big 12. And last year, I would say he was probably the third best running back on Colorado's roster. Now, Isaiah Augustus is gone, right? Michael Welch had some injury issues. Dallan Hayden has a chance to start again, and he has a chance to hold on to that starting spot. He has a chance to be Coach Prime's first 100-yard rusher in a game, first 1,000-yard rusher. Heck, he has the chance to be Colorado's first 400-yard rusher under Coach Prime. So Dallan Hayden has a chance to prove that he was worth the buzz, worth the hype, and that Colorado can count on him to be their bell cow of the offense. Okay, moving on. We're going to go back to the defensive side of the ball. Jaheim Oatis. I talked about him the other day as someone I'm buying stock in because I think it's hard not to buy stock in Jaheim Oatis, right? You just look at his size. You look at what he was as a recruit, right? 4-star blue chipper. Nick Saban wanted him, so he gets that Nick Saban stamp of approval. Ginormous as a human. 6'5", like 330, I think is what he's being listed as. Was a freshman, All-American kind of guy. And then the new staff comes in at Alabama. He gets injured. He didn't really mesh with the new staff, right, and sort of left the program. And so now he's heading into a pivotal year for him, right? Jaheim Oatis, what does he have to prove? Well, Jaheim Oatis is a guy that I think most people thought had first-round defensive tackle potential, and so far we haven't seen that. He has the measurables, he has the flashes, but does he have the motivation? Does he have the ability to make it a consistent thing where he's just constantly being a disruptor? So that's why I think he has a ton to prove, especially when Colorado loses a handful of key defenders, right? They're going to also have guys who could step up in the interior, right? So it's not just a job that's automatically his. So I expect Jaheim Oatis to sort of have a fire under his you-know-what, and I think being coached by Warren Sapp will do him some good next season. Next guy who's got something to prove, and I think it's solely out of the fact that he's been injured, is Omarion Miller, right? I think Omarion Miller has done a great job in the limited opportunities we've seen him, but here's why Omarion Miller has something to prove. We've seen flashes, but we've never seen it sustained, right? Again, injuries. Like 2023 doesn't record a catch until they play USC, which I think at that time was the third or fourth game of the year. And all of a sudden he burst on the scene with 7 catches for 196 yards. The rest of the year he had 4 catches, right? 4 catches for 16, for about 40-ish yards, right? Omarion Miller has something to prove this year because Colorado lost 4 NFL wide receivers, right? There is not a single returning starter from last year who's back again. They have a whole new receiver room. They're going to have a new quarterback, and they need someone to step up and be a consistent playmaker. Now, Omarion Miller is a playmaker, but can he do it consistently, right? Against Kansas State, 8 catches for 145 yards. Did get injured and a season ended, but against Baylor last year, 2 catches for 71 yards and a touchdown, right? He has so much potential at 6'2", 210 pounds, but can he stay healthy? Can he be the guy that's not like, oh, wow, that fourth guy is really good? Can he be the guy? That's why I think he has a lot to prove. He's going to want to prove that he can stay healthy, take over as the number one wide receiver, and just simply be a consistent option for the Colorado Buffaloes. Okay, moving on to the fifth and final player with something to prove. I think got to go Kaidon Salter, right? I already did someone who has to replace Travis Hunter, and on offense and defense, technically, if we want to throw Omarion in there at the wide receiver spot. You got to replace Travis on offense. But now you got to replace Shedeur Sanders. And I think Shedeur Sanders, for all the grief that he was given for his pre-draft process and for being Deion's son, right? Shedeur Sanders was a hell of a college quarterback, right? Most efficient college quarterback of all time in terms of completion percentage. Left Colorado with over 100 school records and was just simply a leader. He was clutch, and he won a lot of big games for the Buffs. He had a great college career. Kaidon Salter, and this is why he has a lot to prove. Kaidon Salter has a lot to prove simply because he was arguably the best dual threat in the country a couple years ago, or you can make the argument for it. And last year, he sees a decrease in all of his numbers, right? Less passing yards. Completion percentage takes a dip. Rushing yards take a dip, right? He's just not the same guy. Well, now he has to step into Shedeur Sanders' shoes. He has to take over and sort of be the face of the next generation of Colorado. Can he do it? We're going to find out, because I think they're going to tailor the offense to him. It's just a matter of him executing, because if he doesn't, there's a 5-star freshman by the name of Julian Lewis who's going to be chomping at the bit, ready to take over. So those are the players who I think have the most to prove for the Colorado Buffaloes in 2025. You guys comment below. Let me know what you think. Who has the most to prove? Who are you looking out for? And we'll discuss in the comments. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Shedeur Sanders. Should the Cleveland Browns trade him? Is that even an option? Let's pump the brakes real quick. We'll take a break. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off of it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. Well, 5 Hour Energy can help you do that. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down that bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGOLF to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. This code is not good on subscription orders. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate y'all for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you don't miss out on a moment of our coverage. Let's talk Shedeur Sanders being traded. Is it a possibility? I don't know. I think it is a possibility, honestly, to answer that question. I do know the answer to that. Let's just sort of give you some background. So Shedeur Sanders, the other day, or today, really, it was today, the day I'm recording, he's talking to the media because Deion Sanders the other day, Coach Prime, went viral and was like, "Yeah, I wanted to go visit Shedeur, but he told me not to. Says he's not where he's at right now, or wants to be during his career, and wants to earn some reps and a starting role before I make the trip over there to see him." Well, thought that was a huge gesture. I think Shedeur Sanders has been done dirty by the Cleveland Browns pretty much all offseason. Through 9 practices, he has been, I think, the best performer based statistically, obviously. There's the eye test and who he's going up against. He hasn't got a lot of first-team reps. So he's making the most of what he has. That being said, he's not getting a ton of reps with the first team. But I will say, through 9 practices, he has the highest completion percentage, most touchdowns. He's completed 70% of his passes. He's thrown 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. For reference, Joe Flacco, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And Joe Flacco also has 22 more attempts than Shedeur. Dylan Gabriel, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks on, I think, 43 more passing attempts than Shedeur. And then Kenny Pickett's banged up, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. I've seen, because Shedeur the other day had a perfect practice, right? He was 9 for 9, 2 touchdowns, did amazing. Everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, get this guy some reps." I think everything we've seen out of Cleveland kind of shows that Shedeur Sanders has an uphill battle in Cleveland, right? The general manager was the one that drafted him. Jimmy Haslam, the owner, was like, "Yeah, that was Andrew Barry's call. That wasn't mine," right? If you would have told me we were drafting him the day before, I would have been like, "No, we're not," right? So there's already this sort of divide internally about Shedeur Sanders. There's a confusing quarterback situation in general. Like, are they going to make it work? Is it going to be something that they're actually trying, or is it just a publicity stunt? Either way, we haven't seen Shedeur get the opportunities. Is he further behind and we don't know? Like, is there just something that they're not telling us and Shedeur is just like not grasping the playbook or something? I feel like his stats would look worse if that was the case. That being said, I saw multiple people now, 2 former NFL players have come forth and said, you know what? They say Shedeur Sanders is injured. They also say that he's been lighting it up. That's the prototypical excuse or reasoning, to trade a player in the offseason, right? Someone's going to need a quarterback. Injuries happen. God forbid they do. But someone, I have the hiccups all of a sudden. Someone in around the NFL, whether it's backup, starter, third string, practice squad, whatever, someone's going to get injured. It's just the way life goes in the NFL. And if the Browns are really this divided on Shedeur Sanders, maybe there's a path to them trading him to a team who sees him as a backup with the starter potential, right? I think the Browns, just everything around them, I just question why they were wanting to pull the trigger on Shedeur, right? They drafted a quarterback in the same draft class ahead of him. They have Joe Flacco, who's a veteran. They have Kenny Pickett, who they traded for. And now they're being linked to Arch Manning for next year already, right? I just feel like there's a lot of uncertainty with the Browns. They obviously have the history of lack of quarterback success. I think it's 35 starting quarterbacks in the past however long. Like they've just been a disaster. And I don't know if any young quarterback should want to play for the Browns. Like when Deion Sanders first was making comments, which I feel like these obviously, whether you think they did or not, I feel like they impacted Shedeur a tad bit. But when he first talked about teams that he didn't want his son to go to, at the top of my list would have been the Browns, right? The Browns are historically where quarterback careers go to die. Baker Mayfield, literally, they chased him out of town only for him to go to the Panthers, go to the Rams, and then all of a sudden he's back in Tampa Bay and he's a franchise quarterback, right? The Browns don't know what they're doing. They never have in my lifetime, and it doesn't appear they know what they're doing with Shedeur Sanders at quarterback. So maybe trading him is the best option for both parties involved, right? It seems like there's a divide internally on whether or not they actually like him or want him. And I just don't know if he's going to get the opportunity or the run in Cleveland to really warrant an opportunity to start. So if I were running the Browns, I would get rid of Shedeur Sanders and give him to someone who thinks that they have a role for him. Because I'm not seeing the Browns having a role for Shedeur Sanders, despite how strong he's done in his limited reps. So that's what I have to say on that matter. When we come back, Boulder is buzzing. Are you shocked? Because I'll be honest, I'm not. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Game Time. Let's talk Game Time. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, and that's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to the showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling to find the best deal, guess what? Game Time Zone Deals pick. They have the best seats in your section for you. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and showtime tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. So do me a favor, like, subscribe, follow, and let's dive right into the fact that Colorado is absolutely buzzing right now as I try to spit words out. For starters, they honored Travis and Shedeur, which, I mean, we all knew was coming, right? They retired their jerseys, so this isn't a surprise. Surprise? When Shedeur Sanders shocks you, should we call it a surprise? But they made it into the historic hall. So Travis Hunter got a full-on mural. I don't know if it's a mural. It's a picture of him on the wall. It's the Heisman. Talks about him winning the Heisman. It says Travis Hunter won Colorado's second Heisman exactly 30 years after Rashaan Salam brought home the first, the best two-way player since the advent of the two platoon system. Hunter became the most decorated player in a season in college football history in 2024, winning 6 trophies and 8 major awards, along with the Academic All-American of the Year award. Right, he's done it all. 1,200 receiving yards, 15 touchdowns on offense, 4 picks, 11 pass breakups, and a forced fumble on defense, and led all of college football with 1,483 snaps. That's insane, right? So they have his Heisman Trophy in the walkway. They have him there. And then Shedeur Sanders also got a little plaque on the wall and talked about his winning of the Johnny Unitas Award. Shedeur Sanders was named the nation's top quarterback when presented the Johnny Unitas Award as a senior. Finished his college career with 134 touchdowns, 27 picks, second player in history to throw for 14,000 yards and complete 70% of his passes. I mean, Shedeur Sanders, hell of a ball player, right? So there's that. That's exciting as it is. Then, not to mention the Locked On Buffs, the Colorado Buffaloes, who the Locked On Buffs we cover. They announced on Monday that they sold out their first game, right? So I think everyone that was chatting away, the buzz is gone. The buzz is gone. Deion Sanders lost Shedeur. He lost Travis. No one's going to care about Colorado. Well, guess what? Colorado is going to be playing against Georgia Tech in a primetime game Friday night on ESPN, right? So all those people who said, hey, this Colorado team, it was just a flash in the pan with all the hype. It's very much not a flash in the pan. Flash in the pan. Excuse me. Deion Sanders is must-see TV. This new Colorado team will be must-see TV. And I'm just kind of here to say I told you so to those who doubted. So appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Make me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys tomorrow.